Soul for a Soul by John Hope. Narrated by John Moe. Chapter 8. Aftermath. Augustine entered the darkness of his empty house. Olmo stood silently at the center of the main room, an expectant look on his face. Augustine shook his head sadly. Olmo wept. Augustine stepped forward and wrapped his arms around the boy. Shh. Olmo looked up. Are you sure? Augustine nodded. Olmo cried even harder. Why? Why? He pounded his fist into Augustine's sides. He hadn't any answers for the boy, beyond what they both already knew. Upon Olmo's return through the portal, Samo had collapsed, never to awaken. Augustine and Olmo attempted to go back for Deodatus by recreating Samo's seance, but they couldn't remember the strange words he'd chanted, nor perform the correct dance. In the end, the pair hung their heads in sorrowful silence, goats laughing at them from the loft above. After returning Samo's body to Esmeralda, Augustine accompanied Olmo to his home, only to be met by a team of questers, the Milan police. The moment Augustine and Deodatus had left the bishop's office to seek out Samo, Brother Fides had wasted no time. He'd murdered the good bishop. Fides had then donned the bishop's robes and gone to Olmo's house, where he'd attacked Olmo's parents and 3 younger sisters. "Why'd Brother Fides do this to them?" Olmo cried again. "Why?" Augustine rubbed the boy's back. Why indeed? Was there any way to explain the wickedness of man to such an innocent youth, especially one who had just lost everyone he loved in this world? It seemed that in Fides' mind, the only way to clear his name was to remove everyone who knew the truth, the same tactic he'd apparently used in Rome. And even Loffredo's suspicions about Fides' crimes hadn't spared him the fate of his previous victims. Upon encountering the questers, Augustine had quickly ushered Olmo to his own home and instructed him to wait while he confirmed the fate of Olmo's family. He'd verified the worst. Do you think they'll have him hung?" Olmo asked shakily. Augustine shook his head. "They're trying to find him, but I don't think it will come to that." Olmo stared up at him quizzically. Augustine had found out more on his trip as well. Brother Fides had been sloppier this time, leaving a myriad of clues for the questers. A bloodied firepick in Loffredo's office. Sightings of Fides dashing in and out of Olmo's house, swathed in bishop's robes. Yet, no one could find the man. He seemed to have vanished into thin air. Augustine explained to Olmo about Fides having deceived the demon, and how he had no doubt that after Fides' killing spree, said demon had paid him a final visit to remove him from this earthly realm for good. Augustine scanned his empty house, once a home where he'd raised Deodatus as a single parent. He pulled away from Olmo. Dust formed lines on the floor where furniture once sat, the chair he sat on to read stories to Deodatus, the table where they ate meals Augustine made for them, and the footstool on which Deodatus sat while Augustine knelt and bandaged his scraped knee. So many memories. Now, with the furniture sold in preparation for their move to Africa, and with Deodatus gone, maybe forever, their meager home was also gone. In its place, this empty dwelling. "I know this is a lot to ask, but—" Augustine swallowed. "Would you be willing to go to Hippo Regius with me?" Olmo sniffled and lifted his head. "Where's Hippo Regius?" "North Africa, where I was born." Augustine paused. "There's a new church being built there. I've been offered a possible position as bishop. I could use your help." Olmo hesitated. "I don't want to take care of goats anymore." Augustine smiled weakly. "I'd give you much more responsibility than that. Without Deodatus, I'll need someone experienced to teach the other boys, and to be a leader." Olmo turned his head toward the door. I only ever wanted to be like Deodatus," Augustine's breathing skipped as he held back the urge to cry. As do I. Olmo looked up at Augustine. He fell into him. Augustine laid a soft hand against his back. He'd missed so many opportunities with Deodatus, especially when he was younger, to share such deep moments. Living in a world where such emotions were for women, he struggled to expose this inner shell, even a crack. After a full minute, Olmo asked, "Do you think we can ever reopen the portal to the Nether?" Augustine shrugged and gave him a mischievous smirk. In my youth, I was occasionally forced to steal loaves of bread to survive. He reached his hand into his pocket. Fortunately, this skill may have served us well. He held out a pair of crusty brown scrolls. Olmo's eyes narrowed. "What are those?" "Samo's research on Enoch. I slipped these out of his old room when we paid our respects to Esmeralda." "Why didn't you just ask her for him?" "She loves me to death, but to her, business is business. She would have sold them for more gold than I have. And who knows whose hands they would have ended up in." He rotated the scrolls. "If we piece together what Samo and Enoch spent their lives researching, there is a chance for Deodatus." Olmo's eyes brightened. Augustine dropped the scrolls back into his pocket. "But attempting anything here is dangerous. With the questers still searching for Brother Fides, and the leadership of the church in shambles, we'd be safer as far away from Milan as possible." Olmo's smile faded. "The Nether it was really bad." Augustine was loath to think about it. "I know," he replied, being strong for the boy. "But perhaps in time both you and I will build up the spiritual fortitude that Deodatus forged in his life." He breathed deeply, as brief as it was. Olmo nodded thoughtfully. "Before I went through the portal to return here, I sort of gave up. It was too much. But Deodatus wouldn't give up, and he wouldn't let me." Tears formed again in Olmo's eyes. "Now, I don't want to give up on him." Augustine smiled, and for the first time, a tear trickled down his face. "Never." Olmo responded with another hug, this one tighter than before. "No wonder Deodatus wanted to save you," said Augustine. "From the Nether, from Brother Fides." He pulled Olmo just enough away to make eye contact. "You've got the heart of a saint." Olmo swallowed. "It hurts." Augustine nodded. "The best and worst things in life do. Though I have a feeling our losses won't be in vain." He smiled again. "Come, let us build a church in Hippo Regis." Olmo sniffled. "And we'll search for Deodatus once we get there?" "Absolutely." He led the boy to the door. Together, they set off. The end.